guys, Coach Erin here, and we're gonna change a flat tire. We're gonna teach you guys how to do it step by step so it's really, really clear. This is Coach Lilia here. She happens to have a flat tire, so I thought I would take advantage of this opportunity. So when you change a flat tire, it's a little bit more difficult when you have a rear tire flat than a front tire. So when you have a rear tire flat, you're gonna make sure the chain, you use your gear shifters and put the chain ring in the smallest ring. Okay, so with your right hand, you're gonna shift the gears so the chain ring goes down to the smallest ring. Okay, you can make the gears go around or move the chain ring by spinning the pedal as you lift the rear wheel. So the second thing you wanna do is release the tire lever, which is on the left-hand side. So you wanna make sure that the tire lever, you can pull it out. And when we go to tighten it again, make sure it's, you can have enough strength to do it, because sometimes it can get wedged on here and it's too tight to release. So make sure that you're doing it with enough tension that it holds the wheel on, but that you can safely release it. So I'm gonna ask Lilia to do some stuff so that she is learning how to do everything. So go ahead and hold the other side and unscrew it counterclockwise, lefty-loosey, until it feels a little bit loose, but don't take it all the way off. Okay, so we're at home. I happen to have a pair of gloves that I only use when I have this situation, but it's good. I'm gonna go through everything in my flat tire kit in a second, but it's good to have some disposable gloves if you don't wanna get the grease everywhere. And also, having a partner to help hold the bike is helpful. Okay, so I'm gonna help hold the bike, and what I'm gonna do is actually ask Lily to lift the frame away from the wheel. Yep, there you go. And then you're gonna release the chain ring by pushing down on this thing so that it gives it some space and you can slide it out. See that? Awesome, good. Now you wanna gently lay your bike down on the opposite side of the chain rings so you do not mess up anything with your derailleurs. So now we have our flat tire kit, disposable gloves, just because I don't like to get the grease everywhere. You're gonna have, I always have a tool just in case. We're not gonna use that right now. You have your flat tire levers, which definitely are necessary because you don't have the leverage typically to be able to get the tire. And then extra CO2 cartridges and the tube. The first thing you need to do to wedge the flat tire lever underneath the wheel itself, the tire itself, and then you want to put it near to one of the spokes so that you can anchor it on the spoke and be able to release the rest of the tire. You need two. Definitely important to have two. So if you look here, I'm just wedging the tire lever underneath the tire, and it can be tricky, don't get me wrong, but you just gotta be persistent. So now that I have two, it's a little easier. So now, Lilia, I'm gonna let you take over, and you're gonna pull. Nope. So you need to make sure it stays in, because that's what you're losing to pull all the way around. So now it's off, right? One edge of the tire is completely off. And typically you would want to do that near this part, but it doesn't really matter. So now I'm gonna open the area where the tube itself is held in place, and I'm gonna pull out the valve, because otherwise I can't get I cannot release the tire from inside. Okay, so make sure you separate your old tube from the new one, and I recycle these, so if you ever get a flat tire, make sure you hand them to me. I use them for ankle ties for swimming. So now we're gonna get the new tube, which we actually have one over here. If you have a wheel that has any kind of a dish, you definitely need to make sure your valve is long enough that it'll fit outside. In this case, we don't have that situation, so we know the valve will be sticking out enough that we can fill up the tire. So first, you also want to check the tire about why it got a flat tire, right? So it's a good idea to look inside the rim just to see if you see any particles, and then also run your fingers on the inside. So you can do that, Lilia. Just be careful, because if it's a piece of glass or something, you don't want to cut your fingers. All right, so she didn't find any glass or anything or any reason to have caused the puncture. Sometimes it's just a bad valve or the tire's messed up. But it's always a good idea to check your tire itself for any gashes or any balding. I mean, you can see this tire is a little bit square, so most likely it's due for a new tire, and changing the tube will be a temporary solution, but you might get more flat tires if you don't change the tire itself. Okay, make sure that the tire is on both, at least one edge. Otherwise, you're never gonna be able to get it on both edges. So it's in there, pretty much. But now we have to make sure that the tire goes on the rim. Start to where the valve is, put the pointy end here, and then pop the tire back on. Now, there will be a point where it wants to pop back off, so go ahead and work your way around and try to tuck the tube in there first, and then pop the tire back on. So you definitely might need 2 hands or 2 levers to help get this part on. This is the tricky part because it's gonna want to pop back off. So if you put a lever here or have someone hold it and then you work your way this way, if the tire's pretty old, it'll be easier to pop back on. So now we need to go around the entire tire and look that there's only white and the tube is not stuck or pinched between the tire and the rim. Because the #1 mistake people make when they change a flat tire, they don't do this, they're in a hurry, then they pump up the tire and it's pinched between the rim and it causes a big air bubble, and then you go right away and it explodes. It's not a fun situation. So it's pretty tucked in there, right? The whole way. Okay, cool. So now we're gonna take our CO2 cartridge and you're gonna screw it on and then back it off. And you're gonna pop it. There's a seal on top, and then you kind of back away. So let's find the valve and make sure the valve is unscrewed, okay? So a lot of people make the mistake of, so righty-tighty, when that's all the way in, the air will not go in the tube, right? So gotta make sure the valve is open and ready to receive air. This is like a CO2 cartridge adapter. So you're gonna put it in the side where there's a screw, and then you're gonna pop the seal. 1 cartridge should be enough to fill up a tire. It's about 100 PSI. So you wanna tighten it so it breaks the seal, and then you're gonna have to back it off to fill up the tire with air. So we talked about making sure the valve was loose. Now we're gonna put it on. Easier said than done. You're gonna back it off and hope that it goes in. So make sure you screw the valve all the way in so you can test it when you unscrew it and then screw it back just so you see how it feels. Cool. Now, your tire came with a little black cap. You really don't need that. This is all you need to make sure that it's sealed. Yay! Okay, so make sure you keep all your stuff together, obviously. And now let's get the tire back on the bike. So you have to put the chain around the bottom, right? And then line up the chain on that last chain ring, right? Good. And then you kind of have to line up the skewers and make sure your brakes aren't blocking. There you go. Cool. But sometimes the brakes levers need to be released, okay? So this makes the brake levers wider so you can slip the tire out. So now we're gonna tighten them back up so she has nice tight brakes. And then go ahead and hold one side with your one hand and then righty-tighty, because you wanna spin enough that there's resistance, but that you could open it easily. I would go a little bit more. So instead of turning that, turn your right hand. Yeah, good. And it should be hard, but not so hard. And I really like leaving the tire lever like this, because you have a lot more leverage to be able to release it, rather than lining it up with one of your chain stays or the bike part, okay? So now you just want to make sure that your gears are lined up. So you would just pick up the rear wheel and spin a little bit. Looks like it needs a tune-up anyway. But we're good to go. Yay! Good job, Lilia. Okay, you guys, I hope that was helpful 2 girls and even 1 girl could do it all by herself. So no more excuses. You know how to change a flat tire now. All right? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. Share with anybody who you think might need help with this. And I will look forward to seeing you soon.